All right, it is 8 a.m. on August 12th. We will call the Broomfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Let's start with John, roll call for attendance.
All those in attendance, Mike?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
We have a full board.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Liberty and justice for
all. A moment of silence, silent meditation prior to the start of the meeting. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with our meeting. We have announcements and correspondences. Sue, do you have any announcements or correspondences?
No.
Okay. Mike, any announcements, correspondences?
Lots and lots of correspondence. But everything has been handled.
Okay. All right. Under correspondences, I do want to, this is one of many, but I think this is a good point to at least discuss this piece. There was a Facebook message that came into us late last night from Matthew Tani of Broomfield Township residents. It says, please do not sell sheets to property in front of the elementary school. It would be such an eyesore. There is 5 acres on the other side of the highway, which would be more beneficial to them and the community, especially considering the multiple hotels on that side of the highway and how quick and easy it works be to get there off the highway both directions. There are so many of us who know it's a bad idea for it to go in front of the school. And so I think we should just address this a little bit. Number one, township does not own that piece of property on 43. That is not owned. We are not selling that piece of property. We had the opportunity to buy that 6 years ago, and the board did not purchase that at that time. That is owned by the Skipper Group. I think the second important piece, because I've heard this through multiple conversations with people and comments on Facebook, is, well, why doesn't the Board of Trustees stop the building from being put in? We don't have the authority or jurisdiction to do that. That comes down to the Board of Zoning Appeals if they do not meet the zoning code. And at that point, the BZA is quasi-judicial. They would be that legal hearing for it, which really takes us as the trustees out of that equation. I didn't know if either of you have had comments or questions about that, or if you wanted to add anything to that piece. I just know it's a very hot topic, and this was one of many correspondences I've received about the Sheets property.
I mean, I've had a lot. That's what the bulk of my callers are. And Sue, you probably remember because you were on the board back then.
Right.
Even I agree with Nick totally that it's not our problem. I mean, but back in the beginning when Skipper did buy that property, remember the commitment, Dick Lister was running this thing. Their commitment was that they were never going to put a gas station or a strip club or whatever they said. They said it would fit. I know my memory's not what it used to be, but the talk was a medical building, a dental building, something like that. Something that would go along with the school and the town center concept. I mean, Dick is probably flipping out now, knowing that this is what they're doing, but I understand, they're trying to make a buck, as they always have. And
right.
I mean, I have no objection to Sheets. I just, as one person, I think it's the wrong place for it to be.
Right.
One person. So, but I have no say other than as a resident.
Right, and there's nothing we can do as a Board of Trustees. There is a separation of power there, and that's why the BZA exists. And if they don't meet our town center district stipulations within our zoning code, then it has to go to the BZA, and that's the only thing we can do on that.
Well, I'll be sure and go to the BZA meeting.
Well, if I remember correctly as well, there was the talks were between the school and the Skipper Group in regards to what could be built out there. So if there was any arrangement that was made on the sale of the purchase or the sale to the Skipper Group, it would have been between the local schools and the Skipper Group to protect the front of their school there. We weren't even included in any of that.
Yeah, John, we were left completely out of it.
Right.
Because the last thing we heard that the school was gonna be sold to us for $1 by a certain superintendent, and you know how that all went,
Right.
so.
Well, and they also had to sell the land because they couldn't tear the building down. So they needed money to tear the building down. So that was one of the issues
So the
that happened
Clippers
back then
who
as
bought
well.
the property in the school and turned around and paid to have their own building torn down. That was a
Right.
great deal.
Exactly.
So I think the big piece here, though, is just, I want to get this message out to the public that if you have questions or concerns, that's the piece that you need to address with the BZA. Unfortunately, this is one of those areas in which the Board of Trustees don't have the authority to do that. The school board doesn't own that piece of property either. It's owned by the Skipper Group. We're more than happy to facilitate and get you in the right direction to know where to take those concerns to. But I just wanted that proper information out there about the ability of the board in this situation. All right. Any other announcements or correspondences? Department heads? Hearing none. We'll move meeting guests. We do not have any meeting guests today. Meeting minutes. I need a motion to approve the 7/29/2020 meeting minutes.
I've read those and reviewed them. I'll make a motion, we approve them.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Roll call, John?
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right. Agenda. I need a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. For discussion, anything need added or changed in the agenda?
Yes. There is, actually, hold on, let me make sure it's not under PD. I need to add under fiscal office, key bank contract and merit increases. So that would be 1 and 2 under the fiscal office.
John, merit increases were under admin. There, do you want to?
I must have the wrong, oh, it's different. Never mind. I just need number 1. I thought it was under the PD. I thought it was where it's going to be. I just need number 1 key bank.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda with an amendment, number 1 key bank contract. Roll call, John.
All those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
Purchase orders. We need a motion to accept purchase orders.
I will make a motion to approve the purchase orders.
Second.
Any questions on purchase orders? All right, roll call.
All those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
We need a motion for warrants
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Any discussion on the warrants?
Okay,
All right.
all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
We will now move into public comments. While the meeting is not allowing guests into the building, since we are doing these virtually at this time being due to COVID, we are taking public comments and questions via phone calls, email, however. Sue, I know you had one today.
Yeah, I
that you
had
wanted to
one here.
address.
I received a phone call from Kay McGuire. She lives on Mogador Road. And her issue was the gravel or the sand and company next door to her is changing the flow of the water, and the water is coming down on their property. So I made a few phone calls, and you all can tell me what was going on. I told her that we operate by the sunshine law, and that in order for me to talk to my other 2 trustees, we have to have it at a board meeting, and I would present her issues. In the meantime, I called Dave Ruffner, called a few other people, and so I just want to know if she's listening today, that she'll know that I brought this up at the board and it was discussed.
Yeah, she also contacted me and said that she had spoken to you about the issue also. And then I relayed that message to Dave, and I know Dave had a meeting with Portage County engineers.
Okay,
about that.
I'd like to ask Dave to let us know what the results were.
Okay.
Hey, Dave, what kind of results did you get from Mrs. McGuire?
The county's been out and looked at it, and they have a work order, and that works with the next division that does ditching and stuff. So they're gonna get out there and take care of the issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right. Do you have any other public comments or questions, Sue? Mike?
One thing we ought to mention that, I think it was last week that Dan Tronge, the former trustee, passed away. They are having a viewing or a drive-by wake at the Randolph Fairgrounds on the 19th. Dan, I think I served with him. He was
He was our zoning inspector
right
for
for a long
a
time.
number of years.
He was a good man, and then, he had dementia, which, it's a terrible disease, but Dan did a lot for the township, so I think we ought to at least mention him.
Do you know what time they're gonna do this drive-by?
I think I do, but I don't want to mention it. It was
Okay.
in the Record Courier
Okay, I'll check
3
the,
days ago.
I'll check the Record Courier then.
Just,
He loved Brumfield.
Oh, he did,
He did.
but he sure loved beef cows too.
Yeah,
And I just think having it where that the Randolph Fair is fitting. I just,
Right.
yeah, he worked with the fair for many years.
I know, I just wondered if they're gonna have him drive through the beef barn. I mean, Dan he loved that beef barn. He did so much for kids. He had they had an award-winning, what was that? They taught the kids cattle, bulls or something, and he always took them to Columbus.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah, he got
was very, very involved.
State
Right,
recognition.
state recognition. Yep, I just wanted to mention that.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for that. Safety concerns. Do we have any safety concerns out there? Hearing none, we'll move into the business portion of our meeting. Police Department, Chief, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. How are you?
Hey, Roy.
I just have a couple items for you this morning. The first item, I know we discussed it at the meeting prior regarding some of the CARES funds relative to COVID. I don't want to get into the details of what I attached there if that's something we're kind of handling separately through the fiscal office. So, John, is there a need for me to really bring this up at this morning's meeting per se, or are we just kind of adding that to the list of items that are being put together?
we're just adding it together, and then when we get the whole list together, we'll come back and approve it and send it on its way. We
Okay,
have
I'm gonna go
until
ahead and buy it.
December. We have until December of 20 to get it all into them.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bypass that part then. Thanks for the
Okay.
feedback on that.
Uh-huh.
Second item, I just wanted to make the board aware I've got a meeting coming up with the superintendent for field local schools, Dave Hefflinger. We're gonna be discussing SRO coming forward into this upcoming school year. As you all know, we've got a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty going forward with how the school year is really going to evolve. So we want to take an opportunity to sit down with Dave and his team to discuss the SRO role and how we're going to navigate these waters we're coming into. So I think the one thing that is a given is that we know that whatever path we take going forward, that path may change on very short notice, depending upon what may happen in the school. So we're going to get a chance to sit down and discuss some of those things coming up. I just wanted to make you aware as a board that that is in process for us. Second item I have for you is an item that's going to require board approval. I have a quote that was attached to my report. We are seeking a purchase order approval for Sable Asphalt in the amount of $2,637.17. And that is to do seal coating, crack resealing, and painting in the parking lot areas in the front and rear of the police department. I sought two other quotes as part of this. We reached out to both Skibisky and Delta over a month ago, and we never got responses from them. So I do have one existing quote from Sable. This is the company that took over for Talmadge Asphalt, and they do reside here in Brimfield.
I just talked to Skibinski yesterday to do some work for my commercial building. They are so backed up. But my one question, can any of this crack sealing and stuff be done by our road department?
I don't know if Dave wants to address that. I have, in the years past, usually every other year, I've gone out to Talmadge Asphalt to do that work for us. I've never reached inside. That doesn't mean anything per se. I've always gone through
We
Talmadge.
have that Durapatch machine. I don't know. Dave, what's your spin?
Yeah, no, the Durapatcher wouldn't work good on the crack sealing in the parking lot. It needs the road sealant. And right now I don't have the road sealer around. I'm planning on doing that in September. I think truthfully, it'd be better off if Roy doesn't move forward like he's got here. Because I can't guarantee if I'll get around to that either until too late in the season to seal coat it.
Okay.
Plus, we don't have a striper, correct?
Right, I know we don't have a striper.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll make a motion to accept this contract for crack filling and asphalt seal coating, not to exceed $2,637.17.
I will second that.
Any discussion on that?
Do we need to round that up to even numbers? Just in case there's something that comes up to be a little bit of a something or other we're not expecting? Like
I would-
maybe.
I wouldn't think so, Sue, because we have a quote from them for an exact dollar amount.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Okay.
Roll call.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
the motion passed.
Okay, thank you. One other item that's not on my agenda, I don't know if you want to address that now or not. I had received some correspondence that came through from Jen, and I think Dave Rufner was looped in on that as well. There was some question about parking up in Cranberry Creek in the development up there. Dave, you recall receiving those same communications? There was questions about parking through Cranberry Creek.
Yes.
Yeah, and the board, if you're not aware, Jendi had received some correspondence from a resident up there regarding vehicle parking up there, and I think the question that had come up is, and Dave raised this, is he does not believe that the Cranberry Creek streets have actually been dedicated over to the township yet. So there was a question about, number one, that needing to take place before there could be any kind of parking enforcement. And the second question beyond that is, I don't see any signage that's even posted through Cranberry Creek now anyway. So I don't know if the board had received that communication, or like I said, that came in from Jenny to me, and it was also CC'd to Dave Rufner. And I just wanted to bring that up as something we'd received, but I don't know that we can do anything from an enforcement perspective until those two items would take place.
So, yeah, I mean, if it has not been dedicated yet, Mike Ladd, do you have any idea when that might be occurring, or what the status is of that project over there?
No, at this point right now, I don't know when the county is going to accept it and then give it to us. So they did go through the punch list, I can tell you that, and they did the repairs. I just don't know where it stands with Mike Collins. I don't know, Dave, has Mike reached out to you and let you know, or?
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna be getting the road this fall. And they are still signages supposed to be posted up there for no parking and stuff on the fire hydrant sides. So, I mean, they're not completely done with their punch list on like signs and a few little odds and ends, but they're looking at, I'll probably have for the fall for this winter. Stages 1 and 2.
Right.
Okay.
So until we get that, there's not much we can do because it's not our road.
Well, Chief Mullally here. I'm sitting in the trustee meeting. You just can't see me. Roy, so you're saying there's no enforcement until there's signage?
Yeah, well, the first question would be, are they actually dedicated streets? That would be
Right.
the first step. And obviously beyond that, there need to be appropriate signage. And until we get to those points, not a great deal we could do from an enforcement perspective. I think the communication that Jenny received is there were some residents that had some large gatherings and kind of put up some traffic cones, kind of blocking off an area up there. Now that's kind of a different story. If someone's putting up some cones up there, kind of blocking off access to a part of the roadway, signage or not, regardless, they can feel free to call us and we can remedy that, because we need to have a flow of traffic come through there for safety vehicles. But beyond that, for just routine traffic, until those two steps take place, not a great deal we can do on that.
Okay.
That's all I have for you this morning, unless you have any other questions for me.
Two questions for you real quick. One being, do we do any traffic control at Brimfield Elementary with the PD during disbursement of students?
No.
Okay. I'm just asking because that came up in the school board meeting last night before last. That was one of the pieces for sheets. They said they'd activate the lights so that the township wouldn't have to pay for traffic control anymore.
I think
we did.
I think in years past, the department prior to my arrival in 15, they may have tried to get an officer up there to give in time for bus releases, but we've not done that in several years.
Okay. All right. And then the second thing is, I know we kind of talked about this and I just wanted to get it on the floor so we can start discussing it again. because there were several, I had 2 correspondences about vendors and starting to explore that vendor license piece with people knocking on doors late at night, trying to sell stuff the 8, 9 o'clock range. I know you and I had briefly talked about that, trying to look at how we could re-explore that with between zoning and the PD and legal.
Okay.
So can we start looking at that, maybe have something for the next meeting, just discuss what our options are?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the questions and we talked about that is, as a township, what kind of teeth can you put into something like that from an enforcement perspective? Unlike a city where they can create a local ordinance and enforce it from a criminal perspective, we don't have that ability, but I'd have to do some homework on that and frankly talk to other township PDs on how they might handle it, because it would be different from how a city would.
Right, because we have that vendor license thing, but what teeth do we have to that? So we could kind of start to explore that and then have that discussion, because we're just seeing more and more. I don't know if it's just because of COVID, there's more people out doing door-to-door sales, but we're seeing more complaints about it.
Yep, I can try to get some information together for discussion for the next meeting.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
With the information that the chief gave us here, are we going to discuss the CARES?
No, John said just to hold off on that because they're going to gather an entire list between all the departments and then determine how they're going to disperse those.
All right, I'll put this in my packet then.
I have one thing for Dave in regards to Cranberry Creek over there. Dave, before the county gets done and gives that to us, can they put up all the signs? Or can you request them to put all the signs up so we don't have to do it?
Yeah, that's in the agreement for them to put up the no parking signs and stuff.
Okay. All
Because
right.
there's a couple stop signs that are actually missing too that I'm going to bring up to Mike Collins on it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Roy, for your presentation.
thank
We'll
you.
now move to fire department.
Okay, again, I'm sitting in the trustee meeting, so you can't see me. This is Chief Mullally. I will have a couple of things for the trustees for approval and discussion, but going back to something I probably should have mentioned in the public comments and questions. Yes, I did receive at least one correspondence to the newspaper article regarding the fire station and our lack of room and where we're going with that. Very nice gentleman, I won't say his name, but he kind of wanted to discuss on, are we still going to move forward with things even though the school had their levy that just passed and their taxes already went up. And I did explain to him that this has been in the works for years. We had chose that November 2020 as our timeline to do this, and we are still going to move forward with that, and that we are a separate entity from the school. I think that needs to be out there. Again, there was questions from the newspaper reporter and from him on how do the trustees feel. So fiscally with John and the trustees, I just wanted to reassure people where we're at and let you guys speak a little bit on that.
I mean, I can speak for myself. I'm all in favor because I know the need. And one thing Nick and Sue and I have all talked about before is the fact that as a board of trustees, all we can do is point out the needs.
Right. We
are putting this in a ballot for the residents to tell us if they want to do it or they don't want to do it.
Right.
It's not, I mean, all we are basically the mouthpiece for the voters.
Right.
And if they don't like us putting on a ballot, that's tough. This is what we have to do as trustees. We're putting the information out. They are welcome to digest it. If they say we don't need it, then they tell us we don't need it. But as myself, I see what they live in. It's not worth it. We need to support our firefighters.
Mike, that's a good point. If I could jump in there, it's not up for debate, or we're not putting it out there as a let's get in a fight with everybody in the community about the subject of the fire department. We need a fire department. So we're putting it out there and letting them vote on it, yes or no. They can get mad at us for identifying a need in Brimfield Township. I mean, that's your job as the trustees, is to identify that. And then let us vote as the residents of town if we want to do it or not. So thank you guys for doing that.
Well, and for me, I think it's really important, not only on the fire side, but on the admin side too, because there's a lot of questions of, well, how elaborate of an office are the trustees building for themselves? Well, we're not even getting offices out of this. This is designed just to get all of our core units back together so that when fire is reviewing plans, they don't have to drive across the street to a rented building to talk to zoning. This is about efficiency of services for us on the administrative side. That's one of the reasons why we've included this as a joint levy. I think two other important points that seem to be a confusion out there is, one, the separation between school board and board of trustees. We are totally separate. We don't vote on same issues together. We operate totally different. Those funding lines don't even touch each other. So people need to understand that what the school does, the school does. We can't control that. We are a township. We are focused just on the township end of business. The second, and I think one of the most important points is I hear often, well, you know, why don't you guys just wait 2 more years and save up some money so you can reduce this? Or, you know, why can't you guys make some cuts in other budgets to make payments? Because it's a USDA loan and because of how we have to fund this, the only way they will give a loan to the township is if it's secured guaranteed funds. And the only way to have secured guaranteed funds is a bond levy. So if we don't run this as a levy, the bank doesn't have a guarantee on the funding, the bank will never lend to the township. It doesn't matter if we could make a payment or not make a payment out of what our current existing funds are. It has to be a dedicated bond line to that loan. And so I think there's a lot of confusion about that out there too. Of, well, can't you guys make some cuts in other areas to make payments? We looked at some other options, but the reality is that the payment has to come from a bond levy.
Well, I have an IMO, in my opinion. This has been in the back burner for over 20 years for a decent fire department. I feel badly that we have this COVID-19 we're all dealing with. I don't see that we're going to be able to have community meetings. I do think, though, that if any of the residents, like on a one-on-one basis, I don't want 15,000 people coming in here, but I think if someone really, really has a concern about the mold and the water and not enough space and room for bedrooms, we have a total 24-hour or fire department now, and there's just not room, and it's just, I'm concerned about the EPA could come in and say, we need to show a good faith effort that we are trying to meet the requirements and the codes. And right now we're just so far out of codes and so far away from all those requirements that we could really actually have some really serious big fines to the township because of our facility. And that's my opinion. And with that, I would think if anybody really doesn't understand what we're dealing with here, that they should get in touch with somebody here at the office and take a tour.
Well, and Sue, we always have to remember this. There are six township employees across the street over here in my building because we don't have room for them at the town hall. From zoning, fiscal office, IT, we were having multiple people and we don't have enough room for everybody. So people need to realize that there are building, 6 of our employees can't even go to Brimfield Township's home office because there's no room for them. So that needs to be made real clear too.
In Brimfield, there were 7,200 people on the books. That was in '86, and right now we're hitting 15,000. So common sense tells you that we've had a good growth factor, and those things have to be dealt with, how it impacts the whole community.
Well, I think the community needs to be aware too. There's a lot more information, and we want to get more information out to you, but it needs to be digestible. If we just release everything at once, it's difficult for people to digest that. And so Craig and I had spoken about doing a virtual tour of some walkthroughs of the buildings. Because of COVID, it's made this a little more difficult than we normally would have. We'd invite more people in. But you have to remember, the fire station is where those firefighters sleep, work, and they run those COVID calls potentially. So we want to try to protect the public by not having too many people inside that building either. And to protect the firefighters because that's where they live. We don't want to bring anything into their home during shift.
I guess if I could just jump in there at this point, and this is the truth of the matter. We looked at the dollar figure when it came back, the $3.99 for 100,000 home valuation per month. In my opinion, felt like a doable number and we should go for it. And I think we all agreed on that. If it would have come back $10, $20, we might have said no, but we felt at $3.99, felt like that was a fair number to try. John Delzy, I'll give credit, taught me this a long time ago, like we said here, put it out to the public. We'll see what the public tells us right now.
That's
We'll
why we
put out
have,
the,
that's why we
we'll
have
put out the
levies.
information, they'll tell us yes or no.
Yeah, that's why we have levies
So-
and voting, and then we take that as feedback from the community to make decisions from that.
But again, very excited that the $3.99, that was a good number in my mind for what we can get out of this. So
Right.
that's all I have for that.
Okay.
Okay,
You have,
yeah, moving on. I need a motion to accept the Kent State communication contract. This is the annual contract that we do for our dispatching, which is through Kent State University. It sits in front of you, Nick. I need all three to sign that. The total amount annually, which goes from September 2020 to August 2021, would be $30,874. This is just shy of a 2% increase from last year.
Okay, I'll make that
So it's a
motion.
very fair contract.
all right, so Sue moves to accept the contract. We need a second.
I will second it.
All right, any discussion on the contract?
No, I read it.
Was there
Yeah.
any standard language changes between previous contracts?
Exact same.
And it works very good for you, doesn't it?
Right. We're still, again, I research every year. We're to jump to anybody else, we're 10,000 more. So they're the best contract we can get.
We can get a roll call, John?
All those in favor? Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes,
Motion passed. Nick, can you fill that out and give it back to Craig? And Craig, can you make a copy of that and give it to me?
Yeah, I'll have it signed by Kent State also before we get the final copy back.
Okay, that works. Thanks.
Okay, on to some positive things here. We have applied, which we do every year, for grants. The first grant we applied for and received was a BWC grant. And the total, if I remember right, was a little over $12,000. We did get that. They awarded us $9,395.83. Then our matching cost will be right around that $1,800 mark. Nothing for approval. I just want to let you know we did receive that from the BWC, and that'll go for a gear extractor for our fire gear.
Well, we do need to pass a motion that we're accepting the grant.
Okay.
All right, so we need a motion to accept the BWC grant for the gear extractor.
Yes.
so moved.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Abstain?
Sue.
Yes,
Motion passed.
Okay, next grant we applied for and received on the federal grant, the FEMA side of a grant for new radios. The total we received currently, and I'll come back to the currently, is $158,359.05. We will owe a 5% on that, which our total will be, and this is what I need approval for. So approval to accept the grant and then approval for the $7,917.95.
So let's do this.
So
in-
do the first one
Yeah.
and then let me piggyback onto this.
So we need a motion to accept the FEMA grant for radio purchases.
so moved.
And I will second it.
And Mike seconds. Any discussion on the acceptance of the grant?
Okay,
Grant.
let me jump in there before so they shorted us on the grant.
Well, we have to, okay.
So we could get upwards of 260,000, which we will go back for.
Okay.
So that changes my number on what I would have to match.
So the matching will hold
So I
off.
just want to say that real quick before we accept it. We're going to accept it.
Right. So we're accepting the 160,000, but you're going back to see if we can get the additional 100,000. Okay. Is there any other discussion on that grant?
That makes sense.
What is the time frame on that? I know it was a short turnaround.
I have to accept it within 30 days. I'm like 10 days in, so.
Okay. No, I mean, this is just another opportunity where we find grant funding, just like the police and the road departments have done, to keep costs down for residents and really help our community get the tools we need.
So
All right, roll call to
Okay,
accept.
all
the
those in
grant.
favor? Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes,
Motion passed.
Okay,
So
let me
then
go
we're gonna
back.
wait on the additional amount?
Well, that's something I need to discuss with you, John. If we get up to the 260,000, my matching would be 13,000.
Why don't we just wait and see if you get to that, and then we'll approve what your match is?
Okay, so then do you want to prove the exact match as it sits today then? Which is
Well,
7,900.
Don't you have 30 days to figure all that out if you're gonna get it?
No, I have to accept the grant, then they can go back.
Okay,
and-
well then we need to do that today, and then if we have to do it later, we'll accept more money from them, and then we'll accept your fee.
That's fine.
Okay. What was
So
that number again, though? 7,095?
$7,917.95.
So we need a motion to allocate that as the 5% grant match.
So moved.
And I will second that. Any discussion on that? And Craig, how long do they say for us to hear back on the additional funding?
It's COVID, it's up in the air.
Okay.
So how this works is we asked for 9 vehicles to be outfitted and so many portable radios. They shorted us on the portable radios, which I might not get because they say it goes by personnel, and we asked for more. I understand that piece, but they gave us 5 vehicles instead of 9. So we went back to them and said, we proved to you you had 9. They said, yes, you do. You have to accept it. Then we can possibly amend on the back end.
Okay.
So there's no reason that we shouldn't get more, but as we currently sit, we don't want to deny it. We still want to accept this part.
Okay.
With that being said, which we already accepted that, being fiscally sound, which we always will be, we're upwards of $400,000 to $500,000 in grant money received in the last 2 out of 3 years. So I just want the public to know we will always be looking for ways to be fiscally sound. That's just how I operate.
Right.
My home and here. So I just want the public to be aware that we will always do this, and we've been fortunate enough to get it. So these are big chunks for us. One of our last ones 3 years ago was the ambulance.
Right.
We remember the whole ambulance was funded in the power cot, and now we're able to upgrade our radios to a point where we can talk to our own PD in town. As it sits right now, we can't.
Right.
So we will be able to. So this is a big get for us.
And this was big too, because this would allow us to do dual band compared to the state grant we initially looked at. We don't want us to go with Mark.
Right. And yes, this is the better route for us.
Because we're surrounded by multiple.
Yeah, just real quick. So Suffield and Rootstown operate off of one channel, and well, Brimfield, Suffield, Rootstown, Brimfield PD, Talmadge, and Kent operate off a different one. So we're exactly in the middle. I've been having a dual band. I can now talk to everybody regardless what channel they're on. So I can sit in the middle and be fine.
Okay.
So this works for me.
All right. Any other discussion on this? If not, roll call.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, that's all I have for the fire department. I did have one thing for the admin before we get into the other stuff.
Okay.
Just a sport field update. Soccer fields. Soccer fields were moving forward literally to the day I received the goals. I got a call from the board president saying we're holding off till September 1st, I think is the date. So we're in a postponed pattern and we'll see where that goes. But they will be moving forward. We have the goals. So I'm just waiting on the phone call from them and working with them.
Yeah. And it's not that they don't want to use our field. I mean, the
Oh,
public
right.
needs to hear that. This is all COVID related. There's been delays based on governor and Department of Health regulations for recreational sports.
Right. Football, field youth football still continues to use our fields, and with the league that they are in, are at this point still moving forward. So football is still using the outfield at the baseball field, and I think they should. So that's all I wanted to update the sport fields real quick.
All right. Under administration, then we have, this is a tabled item from before that we're bringing back up, employee compensation annual raises. We had tabled this because of COVID to get a better grasp of the financial impact. Every every year we review for annual raises of our employees. John, I'll let you kind of take it over from this point to talk about that.
Sure. Thanks, Nick. What we do normally in April of each year is that we evaluate risk for cost of living increases for the township non-union employees and non-contracted employees. So they would be our hourly staff that we have that's non-union. We did not pass out any raises this year. We did send everybody home though for COVID and work from home, set up their homes to do that, change their life like everybody else has changed. Instead of going back and giving their increase in this time, we do, I would like to reward the fact that they have continued to keep Brimfield Township in the same fashion that it is. Nobody really even knows that they weren't even here. When you call in, it was seamless going across the board. No one missed out on getting any zoning or cemetery or anything like that. It was all taken care of by the administrative staff, and I want to say thank you to them. And I would like to get the board's approval to pay them a $2,000 merit increase for 2020 per person. They will not get a percentage increase this year for raises, but this is our help to help them across the board. So I'm asking for an approval for $2,000 per employee. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 employees.
So John, I'd like to make a motion for a $2,000 merit increase for all full-time, non-union, non-contract employees, and a $1,000 merit increase for all part-time, non-contract, non-union employees.
That works.
Our PD staff.
Okay, I'll second that.
This for us is a way to help our employees, obviously financially through this too, and to reward them for their hard work, but we still don't know the total impact of COVID on finances. So by not giving the merit raises, it allows us to, or not to give the annual pay increase percentage, it allows us to evaluate that again next year without having that carryover balance and reevaluate where we're at. Because we just don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, the numbers right now from the JED and the taxes are looking good, but there's always a domino effect. I think we still haven't seen that hit yet. There's a bubble to come. Sue, do you have any input on that?
No, I just think, we have such good employees here. And I do think that this merit increase is going to encourage them, that we know that they're given 100% or more of themselves to making Brimfield. And I really do appreciate that.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion, can we have a roll call vote on that?
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. I will, this will be in their next pay.
Okay.
So our next payroll check will have that in there, just so you're FYI when you see payroll coming through. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
All right.
That's you.
Yes, Portage County Engineer letter. We had a copy of that. I'm trying to find it again because we need to sign it. So the Portage County Engineer's Office asked the Brimfield Township Board of Trustees if we would draft a letter of support for the project on Mogador and Howe Road. And I asked Dave and Rochelle to work on that.
So that's for the roundabout?
Yes.
Are you asking for the one that we drafted?
Yeah.
I have a
Do
copy.
you have a copy of that?
This is what you're asking for.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yes. So we've asked for, so they've asked for a letter to attach to their packet to ODOT because they're trying to get funding to help pay for that process. So with that said, here's the letter that we had them draft. It says, Dear Michael from Mickey Marazzi, I am writing this letter in support of Portage County Engineer to complete road studies at the intersection of Mogador Road and Old Forge Road in Brookfield Township. The intersection has issues with visibility, traffic, speeding, and we received many resident complaints about these issues. The road study's conclusion will make the intersection safer for Broomfield Township. As the Broomfield Township Road Superintendent, I fully support the efforts of the Portage County Engineer for a conclusion to the road studies at the intersection of Margaret Road and Old Forge. That's from Dave. We would have a second letter coming from the Broomfield Township Board of Trustees saying the same thing with the change of, as the Broomfield Township Board of Trustees, we fully support the efforts.
And I have one too.
So, and then there's one from the fire department also. So this is just a way for us to get these letters over to them so that they can apply for that grant funding to show
Good.
that it's a county and township support. With that said, we just had another accident at that intersection just in the past 2 weeks. I was sending a picture of that.
What do we discussed that Wednesday and Thursday, we had an accident.
Yeah. So with that said, with these letters, I would like to kind of just formally ask Mickey Marazzi and the Portage County Engineer's Office in the interim, because this process could take 2 to 3 years before that happens, because it's state funding. They go through the process, they deem the money, and then we have to wait a long time. So in the interim, we talked about asking for the county to potentially put in flashing lights there or some type of other control device to help at that intersection, because we're still seeing so many accidents at that intersection. So with the submission of these letters, I was going to submit a letter on behalf of the Board of Trustees asking Mickey Marazzi to look at the situation in the interim and ask for some type of control devices in conjunction with
Speed bumps.
yeah, working with the road department and the police department to come up with what we think would be a good option at that point.
Well, those speed bumps would be like a freaking ramp with the speed.
Yeah.
bump.
If we Dukes a hazard through there.
Yeah.
Up around Kent State, they have the regular stop sign, but then it's got the lights around it that flash on and off around it. I thought that was kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
Dave looked at one of those and the price was crazy, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, the flashing light signs.
The flashing stoplight.
Yeah, they were very expensive.
And I can just see that in somebody's garage within a couple.
Yeah.
So with that said, so I need a motion from the Board of Trustees to officially submit a letter to the Portage County Engineer's
I
Office.
will make that motion.
Second,
All right, any discussion on this? If not, I will have Rochelle draft this up and then we can stop by the office this week to sign it and send it over.
So
Sounds good.
give mine to her.
Yes. All right, roll call, all in favor?
All those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
yes.
motion passed.
Next on the agenda is the Kent and Jed. We had our annual or our quarterly Jed meeting. You should have in front of you the reports from that. You can see what our disbursement was. Basically, we were above our expectations again in that Kent and Jed. So we are staying fairly healthy for this year. We are looking at our M&I fund received an additional $5,000, and our regular JED fund to Broomfield was $20,166. Mike Ladd, do you have anything you want to add to why we're seeing that positive impact there? Because I know that this is based upon COVID dollars at this point.
Yeah, well, we have two new companies that came in into the JED, as well as all of the construction going on with Copper Creek and Redwood paying into that. So we'll see an increase, and I think it's going to continue. I think I was talking to John yesterday, and I think the Talmadge JED is up as well, 4%. So looking good.
Yeah, the good news is, as we look at this, if we look at that April through June period of 2019, total deposits was 53,000. If you look at that April through June 2020, it was 54,000. So we did see a small increase there. So obviously things are staying healthy considering COVID. I think if it wasn't for COVID, we would have seen a much larger increase.
Yeah.
In our case with COVID, from JED funds at least, construction is what is saving us, and keeping these construction projects going is what's going to keep those fund lines up over the next year.
Broomfield is not slowing down.
Right, but that's been to our benefit at this point.
Broomfield.
Yeah.
Other places are. Broomfield is not.
So yeah, we just got to keep pushing on those projects
Right.
that will help us. That was it. It was a very short meeting. We really just accepted the budget. There was no other major changes at that
No
point.
questions or anything to them?
No, they obviously said that they were expecting a bigger decline and asked why we anticipated we saw that increase. And we talked about the construction. We also talked about, future construction projects, which Mike will cover in his section, with the property on 43, by Dylan's Auto.
Mhm.
But, at that point, that's kind of where we're at. Everybody's, just kind of sheltering in place, trying to write out.
No M&I questions?
No, they were happy with everything that's gone on. There was one issue from the previous meeting. It was just a minor accounting piece that we had to fix. John and I got that taken care of right away. It was from 2 years back,
Okay, good.
but that's all taken care of. And then last on here, we already took care of this at the beginning of the meeting, signing of the recycling contract. We had signed it. The Board of Commissioners asked for a second signed copy so they could sign two. We will retain an original copy. They will retain an original copy.
Okay.
So that's been taken care of. Anything under administration question-wise? Hearing none, we'll move into zoning for their update.
One thing real quick, Nick, did you get my text about the email that had the resolution number on it?
No, I didn't.
I sent it over so you can fill the top of that back in. So you can just give it to Mark.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Nick. So zoning is requesting board approval to send information to the abandoned house 1145 Howe Road to the prosecutor to pursue for search warrants. I'd like to get Brett to get that ready, and then we could go before the judge and get that signed. Looks like back in 2012, it was a meth or assumed meth lab. It has been taken down to the studs. It's vacant. It's been abandoned for years. So I'd like to pursue this one.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to send abandoned house at 1145 Howe Road to prosecutor to pursue for search warrants. We need a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that property?
No, I think these pictures show the real picture of it, so I have no problem with it.
All right, hearing none, roll call.
All those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
you.
Yes,
Motion passed.
So Five Below at Cascades is opening August 21st this year. Menards is opening right now tentatively in September. July 9th, 2020, Zoning Commission submitted a proposal for reduced setbacks on pools and accessory buildings. That is at a meeting tonight for regional planning, and they're going to vote on it. We did make some changes to where you could put sheds and pools on your lot, basically going to 5 foot from your property lines instead of 15 in most circumstances. That will reduce the amount of people going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Virtual Zoning Commission meeting is August 13th at 7 o'clock. The virtual board meeting for zoning appeals is August 19th at 7 o'clock. Sunny Hills Villa Apartments is under construction. They're moving pretty good with that. Our comprehensive land use plan, we're waiting a date still for the 5-year plan. We still need to go over that. As well as we're still looking into the subdivisions. Dave and I, along with the county, are trying to narrow that down to make sure that we don't have any other responsibilities we're not aware of. King's Car Wash is planning on building next to Arby's, still at Maple Crest, and our total fee is $95,185 in permits that we have, which is very, very good. Like I said earlier, our JED with Kent is up 18%, and our Talmadge JED is up 4% due to the construction, the amount of stuff that's coming in. I will be also getting you guys information. I met with DeHoff this week. We have several plans going forward, multiple properties that we're looking at doing things with. Possible TIFs on some of those will be coming forward, as well as news on Jersey Mike's. And they're going to send me the information, but what I was told, and I'd like to get the documentation and get it out to the public, but Jersey Mike's was in the top 15 Jersey Mike's in the country for sales. So,
Hey, what about the nursing home? What have you heard about that?
So we just gave them an extension at the Board of Zoning Appeals of time due to COVID because their architects were working from home and they were a little bit backed up. So David Mitchell, their attorney from Pepper Pike, came in and they represented them and said they are still going forward. We should be looking at plans and getting permits by the end of the year.
And maybe we ought to have Mike can you talk a little bit on that sheets, just so people understand what's going on?
So yeah, everybody's got a right to apply for anything they want. I mean, zoning, and what I have done is turned it down, and I have officially turned it down for several reasons. One is it's not a permitted use in the town center, as well as without seeing plans and without a formal submittal, the things that popped in my head were liquor sales around a school. And the proximity of that, they'll probably have to pursue a variance for that if they're going to sell alcohol. There's several things that I've brought up to them, but they have the right to appeal it because we have it in our code. Our code is going to be looked at and we're going to be making some changes, but in our town center code, it says use is not permitted come before the BZA. And that's what they're hanging their hat on. And they're plead their case to the Board of Zoning Appeals at a hearing. It's not my decision. I mean, I have to officially turn them down for them, to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So it is entirely up to the board from that point, and any variances I'll make sure are on the list at that point as well.
Okay. Two other pieces I wanted to cover real quick was zoning, CRA status. Where is Deemer and Associates on redeveloping a new CRA document to present to the county commissioners?
Mark is very close. We'll be presenting that to you here shortly. I would say in the next month. We should have that wrapped up for discussion because the goal of that CRA was to get everything done by the end of the year. So I know COVID slowed a couple things down, but we'll still go forward with the full CRA. We have a company from Suffield interested in coming here, and they will be looking at our existing CRA. So I'll let you know how that meeting goes. Portage Development Board is also involved in that, but there's a CRA that exists right now in Brimfield, and they're going to be looking at utilizing it. So.
The other piece is the TIFs. I know that you had mentioned you're working with DHOP on potential TIFs. Are we looking at county TIFs? So are we looking at the larger 30-year TIFs, or are we focusing back on those 10-year TIFs?
We're looking at a larger TIF right now. The larger one is going to be behind Myers and Menards, and it's going to be similar with the 5%, almost identical to what we have.
I had a conversation with Mark Cadetti from Deemer Associates on our Redwood TIF. He said he's ready to pull the trigger on that. What we need to do that is a project list of where we're going to spend the money to include with that TIF language. So, Mike, can you follow up with Mark on that? Because there's some gray areas about how we can spend that money. I know we can't use it for the fire station build. We can't use it for a new police station. There was a gray area of could we potentially pay for a new road garage with that? It was one of those areas. But get a better clarification of what he needs for that list for the next trustee meeting. So we can officially adopt that list, send it to him, because I want to get that tip before they get too far into the Redwood projects. So I just really want to engage that vehicle of money collection where we can initially just to test those waters.
Yeah, that's fine. The last conversation we had on that portion with the TIF with Redwood and Bob Dyer was involved in that was just, basically the list from the township and what we were going to utilize the funds for. So I'll narrow that down. I'll send an email out to everybody and what our parameters are and then get some feedback. So.
Yeah, so just get a list from each department, what we could potentially use that money for. And let's just get that in there as initial projects, bring it to the board for the next meeting. So I really want to see those 10-year TIF structure set up and at least one in place by the end of this year, if not multiples. We're going to see multiple buildings go up, especially for Redwood.
Okay.
All right, anything else for zoning?
No, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Road Department, Dave, you're up.
Morning, everybody. I just want to let you know we have all the no parking signs put up on Sanctuary View, Ridge View, Vesta Circle, and Pleasant Lakes. So far, it looks like it's all been working out pretty good. We don't have dual parking on both sides of the road. The only place we do have a little bit still going on is Vesta Circle. All the foundations.
Dave, just so Roy knows, you said there's one gentleman that is parking right in front of the sign?
Yeah, there's a guy parking right on the corner house of Vesta Circle, and Pleasant Lakes is parking right at the sign, so.
Yeah, I
Hey,
came
Roy,
through there last
Roy,
night. I came through there last night on afternoon shift. It's clear. There was no
Okay.
parking on the road. So that's hit or miss, and we can come through on occasion, but and of course, if somebody has a complaint, they can always call that in. But last night when I came through on afternoon shift, there wasn't any parking in that area at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got all the foundations poured at the cemetery, so they're all done. They're just waiting for the next movement by the headstone people. We straightened up a bunch of headstones in the Pioneer Cemetery. After putting the new markers in, we went through and straightened a bunch of stuff up. That way, it actually looks a lot nicer. All the dirt at the shop in the cemetery has been hauled out to a location, to a gentleman. So now we're kind of dirt free around here for the time being. The concrete work and the milling work on Sterling Green and Chapman Farm has been done, and they're actually starting to pave it this morning. So the road hopefully will be done in the next couple of days. Sachs Road should be striped this week, so that'll complete that job. The Malloy and Selnick culvert projects are all moving forward as planned. Right now, we're just waiting for them to finish building the box culvert for the company to move in and start doing the jobs. We've cleared off some trees that fell down on the walking trails through Lions Park. Another thing I didn't have on here was I did meet with Mike Collins yesterday at Walmart, and we're going to come up with a design of how to change that a little better for the drive-in cascades, so people ain't trying to crisscross each other. The last thing I have for you is I need the board's approval to move forward. For Willowbrook, I would like to have Cardinal Asphalt come in and do the repairs of what needs done on Willowbrook. And it'll be a cost of, their bid was $5,500 as there's on the one sheet for 1,900 square feet of repairs and stuff. But I'd like just to make it 6,000 just in case we come into a little bit of an issue where I don't have to hesitate to get it fixed. I just want to get this project done, and Cardinal is, they're actually the gentlemen that are doing Sterling Green and Chapman, and they'll come in there and they'll get it fixed up for us the right way.
Yeah, I'll make a motion in the positive for the $6,000. Need a second discussion.
I will second that for discussion.
Now, Dave, explain this so they're all aware. This was the people that did the project in the beginning.
Carvo.
Right, they did not finish it right. So thanks to OmniPro, who has tried to contact them repeatedly over the last year to no avail. Now Dave tells me they want to charge us an additional fee because they're trying to say that our base was not good, right, Dave?
Right. Well, what it is, it's kind of a mutual problem with their big trucks that were in there, and we had base failure. So what they want to do is charge us to come back and fix the base failure plus the spots. So it's kind of one of them gray areas where, say we went and tried to fight with them about it, it would come back as they could, use it as base failures being their reasoning they didn't fix it right this, after it happened. So
Didn't we have some of this held in bond or escrow account? Are we able to capture some of that money back?
Well, what it is I don't have a report for you today, but OmniPro is working on that. So we're going to have a change order on the Carvo job, and we'll get some of the funding back. It's going to be close. They mentioned something around $400 to $4,500 we'll get back through that part, which would almost cover the cost of Cardinal coming in and fixing it. Or
So we're gonna
car,
leave to get the project done, and we're not.
Right.
going
So we're
back
gonna
to-
front the money on the project, then we'll capture it back
Right.
on the
Right.
back end with the
That's
change
good.
order. Okay,
That's good.
Well, when we had already allocated money to spend on that project, we just haven't spent it over there yet. At Willowbrook,
I just wanna make sure we're getting our money back from Carvo if they didn't complete the job correctly.
well, it's still sitting out there. We just haven't paid it because Mike Collins didn't want us to pay it yet. So we're still holding on to it. But we did owe it. So what this is going to do is it's going to come back and say we don't owe it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor, and a second. Can we get a roll call vote?
All those in favor, Mike,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes,
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
they will be happy over on Willowbrook.
and I did call Dave over, the weekend, but we got a vandal that seems to keep defacing our signs over there on, Powder Mill. So, Dave, did you happen to find out if it's the same person?
well, I can't, it's the same paint, but the first couple signs they vandalized, they painted like smiley faces on them and this and that. And this time around, they kind of put their initials RJ. I couldn't make out the last letter, but it's the same colored paint. So it's probably the same person. So, I mean, they, about every 2-3 weeks, they go out and spray a sign. And our remover actually takes too much of the color and reflective off the signs. So we're going to try a couple different removers on the older signs that are sitting here still. See if we can come up with something that can take it off better without destroying the signs.
Okay, I just want you all to be aware of that.
Well, maybe under Parks and Rec #2, they might be able to help out. Depending on where we're at, so.
Okay.
Could we wire that up with some electricity so when we touch it, it'll zap them?
I don't think we can do that. All right, do we have anything else for road?
I think that's a good idea.
All right, hearing none, Parks and Rec, Cassie.
All right, hello everybody. So my first item is contact sports update. I was actually expecting an update from DeWine yesterday. I'm expecting one, I guess, later this week. But so far, the update has been that COVID testing is now mandatory for competition in high school sports, for competitive sports. So that includes, or contact sports, I'm sorry. So that includes football and soccer. Practices and intra-team scrimmages are still permitted, just competition against 2 teams would require COVID testing. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Field youth football is continuing to practice, Craig already mentioned, on the fields. And then that testing is not, baseball and softball are not considered a contact sport, so testing would not be required for that. And everybody's turning in their COVID waivers for every rental that they're doing, so that's good. So as Nick mentioned, Parks and Rec item #2 is trail cameras purchased. I have them right here. They're very nice. I have 5 of them. We discussed these in the last meeting to put up in the park for ATVs for trespassing, especially at our Messner Acres conservation area. We've had quite a few ATVs coming through the property, which is especially concerning because per our agreement with Western Reserve Land Conservancy, no damage to the property is supposed to take place. So yeah, so I'll be working with those to get those installed in the near future. Item #3, also discussed in our last meeting, is a certified letter to the Brimfield Athletic Association for the removal of the metal storage container that has been at Lions Park for several years, I believe. So I have that letter that has been approved by Chad Murdoch, and I have that there for you to approve and sign.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve this letter to the Brimfield Athletic Association. We need a second to discuss it.
I read it, I'm gonna second it.
All right, is there any discussion on this letter? If not, we can sign it today and just give it to Cassie.
I think it's a great letter.
No, I think it's a good letter.
Okay, this is just basically informing them they have 14 days to remove the container. If not, then we can remove it ourselves at the expense of the Athletic Association. So,
Yep, sounds good.
all right, hearing no other discussion, roll call vote on sending the letter to the Athletic Association.
Yeah, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. All right, the next item involves the Parks Advisory Committee that was also discussed, I believe, at the last meeting. So I am requesting approval of the committee guidelines and application that will be posted on our website and social media for people that would like to join our Parks Committee.
So we need approval of committee guidelines and application. We need a motion to accept that.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, discussion on this. I know we changed it to advisory committee instead of board because we found some language in the ORC that caused some concern
Right.
with that initially. Is there any other concerns with what Cassie has drafted up? With background checks in there.
Just one question I had, Cassie, and it might not be. Is it worth you putting a brief overview of what this committee will do?
Yeah, that is somewhat included in there. I have more like objectives of the committee. So as far as what they'll actually be doing will be based on determining which projects will take priority. So
Okay.
I have some ideas of what we'll be doing.
And so you're gonna advertise this via social media and the website and all that?
Yep, I've already had a few people contact me actually after the last meeting that were interested. So I'm hoping to get 7 members is what I had written in there. I'd like an odd number for voting purposes. So if I had between 5 and 9 would be great. But I think 7 is a good number.
But I think you ought to do a video of you talking from one of the parks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, 'cause, my thoughts of this whole thing, this would be actually some hands-on, not just sitting in a room, talking about parks, but actually being involved in the parks and, I might be wrong, but assisting you, I mean, we want friends of the parks.
Yes, yeah, that's going to be one of our goals. So the committee would officially start in January and they'd serve the full year. But before that would happen, I'd like to hopefully get all the applications and approve the members by September. October, I would ask the committee members to visit our parks either with me or on their own time and fill out a park survey based on their opinions, which this has actually been done before a few years ago. I've been working with Andrea Ireland from the National Park Service. We just had a big long talk yesterday, and she actually mailed me some old trail assessments that were done in 2017, I believe, by the former park committee. So I'm kind of resurrecting some old things with a new twist to it.
Okay, you just reminded me, I'm going to tell you just so you know, I had a couple in the restaurant eating the other day, and they asked if we were ever going to bring back the snow skiing trails. I didn't even remember we had snow skiing trails. I didn't even know people still are doing this
Snowshoeing.
cross-country skiing.
Oh, yeah.
So
Was this
I
at
told
Cranberry Creek?
I told her I would pass it on to you.
Yeah.
She said Cranberry Creek we had it. And I do not maybe Dave remembers it. I don't remember. I know we had a trail, whether they used it to cross-country ski or not. I don't know. I don't know how popular that is anymore.
When I worked at Metro Parks, we actually had a snowshoe rental program that was fairly popular. We had snowshoes at our Twinsburg Nature Center that people actually wasn't even a rental. They were just free to use. You just had to sign up for them. But yeah, there were days when we got good snow and people would be out all over the trails. So I could see that becoming popular.
Well, what about the cross-country skiing? Is that still something?
I don't see as much cross-country skiing, but those trails would be great for it.
Dog sledding. Okay, I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, last season, we didn't really have enough snow for any of that. I remember our sledding, I wanted to do an event where we had hot cocoa in the sledding hill, but there was never really enough snow to sled. There were maybe a few days.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have the motion on the floor and a second, so we need a roll call vote to accept the Parks Committee application and rule advisory committee rules and expectations.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
motion passed.
Okay. My next item is actually my parks report's a little bit different than your. Okay. My next item, what do you have? Trick or treat or rental facilities next?
Community events, fall harvest, tree lighting.
Oh, you're right. I skipped ahead. Sorry. Community events. I wanted to discuss the plans for this year's Fall Harvest Festival and the Christmas tree lighting. This is the month that I would probably be starting to plan both of those things. So what that's going to look like during COVID times.
I mean, I think at this point, I don't think the Fall Harvest Festival is going to happen. I mean,
I would agree.
we're still too high.
Tree lighting, we're not gonna allow people in.
So, but I think we still start planning for the tree lighting festival, and worst case, we make that a live virtual event. So not even a recorded one, where we at least do it live. Maybe Santa can show up and talk to all the kids and light the tree, and we're still able to do something, even if it has to be a live virtual event.
And outside.
Yeah, and maybe it's a drive-through too, so we just kind of have a flow of traffic where people can come through and see the tree and the lights once they're lit up, type of thing.
yeah, that's good.
But, so I think we start planning it, knowing that, hey, we want to plan it for in-person, but if that doesn't happen, we just cancel those in-person pieces, and we still have the virtual event of the lighting of the trees and Santa there, and maybe even we ride in with Santa on the fire truck virtually and go through that whole process.
Right.
I would agree with the Santa piece. I don't know if Santa wants to have a bunch of little kids sitting on his lap, but he wouldn't mind waving to the kids and doing all that.
Santa needs some PPE.
So, but I think we plan for it, making sure Santa's available for that date. We set a date for it. We plan on doing it. But if it doesn't, it still happens just in a virtual aspect and not even a pre-recorded. I say we do it that evening at night and encourage people to get some hot chocolate and gather around the computer or TV, and or maybe even drive through the town center and see what that looks like.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I live in Monroe Falls, and I know that's kind of their plan for they have a tree lighting every year as well. And they are looking at a drive-through. They have a community center where they said they pack about 100 people in. And they said that they are not doing that this year, and they're looking at some sort of drive-through component. They also floated the idea of getting with a local radio station and maybe doing like a, where you can tune into like a certain radio station and somebody could be talking on the other end and give you like a guided tour of the lights. I thought that was an interesting idea. I don't know how that would work, but.
Well, and we could potentially jump in too, if they do it again this year. Rootstown and Suffield did a house lighting competition. So we might be able to jump in with
well, that'd
them.
be a good drive-by.
And then we can add those addresses that want to participate as the night of really officially starting their lights, and we could add those addresses into a list. So you can drive by the town hall and through the
I think,
community.
that house lighting is a great thing. I think we really ought to work on that, maybe get some prizes or something. But, just get people, let them know now, because if we're all still locked up, I mean, that would be a great way to take the kids around town.
Yeah, and so they could come through town hall, they could head up there, and maybe even Santa could still, and his elves hand out books to kids as they drive by and wave to Santa. They can't sit on Santa's lap. We could create a safe social distancing process to that.
So we're saying that we should probably have Cassie start planning this.
Yes.
Okay. And then
Maybe we'll have a wraparound drive.
I could potentially set up something in the parks as well. Haven't had a chance to brainstorm that, but maybe we can have people can pull through the parking lot as well and have something there.
Like Ogilvy. What you're saying, Brimfield should become like Ogilvy.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, look at the crowds that pulls in. Roy would love the traffic. That
Yeah.
would be great.
It's gonna be a lot of fun for the police department.
Okay, well, Cassie, get back to us. So the next trustee meeting, this is the time to start pushing that stuff forward.
Well, because we're not spending the money on all the extra activities we normally do this year, maybe we expand the lights display and cover some more of the areas and create a bigger light
I think
display
it'd be great.
in downtown.
Yeah, I think that'd be a
Maybe the
great year
Brimfield
for that.
Plaza will put some money out and
We have to do something. We
Yeah.
can't cancel everything.
Oh, I agree.
No, so I mean, so we got to do this big. So this is going to be this is your big project, Cassie.
Yes, COVID will not be the Grinch this year.
I was telling Cassie, I wish we had more trails. It would be so nice to, something to encourage people to get out and walk our trails. But right now, we basically have one trail.
Right.
Cranberry Creek, nothing's been, when Dave gets bored, we need him to take the brush hog out there and make us a big trail. If we have more trails, give them like how they do those walking sticks, but we could do that in a half an hour. So Cassie would be passing out walking sticks. But, it'd be neat to, and even if we could maybe get some different townships together and have, Nick, if you could talk about this at your thing, what if we could get 4 or 5 townships that have parks and put a program together like they have in Summit County,
Well, I know Portage County is doing it already, so maybe we can get added to their
Right.
list. Maybe that's a good contact at Portage County. See if we can add this as part of their walking list for the fall time.
Yep. I know a couple people there, so.
Yeah, I think you might be able to make something happen.
Yeah.
All right. Other questions?
You could have
All right.
us.
I'm excited to hear about Christmas.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So reiterate, no fall festival.
No
cancel
fall
that,
festival,
Okay.
but we're
focus
going to
on the
move
lights.
forward with the Christmas festival. We'll come up with something fun.
Christmas ale.
But we need to get a hold of the Lions because there won't be any cookie making. There won't be any of that stuff so they know.
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, they could pass out cookies, like we can have socially distanced.
Well, they did that, but they had the kids making cookies in the garage and doing all that. So
But I would still like to, I don't know where we get the books from, but I would like to try to get the Santa books.
Lions.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
if we can get Lions to work with us on that, to hand out books as the kids drive through, at least Santa can kind of wave at them through the window. We can kind of create up a whole system there.
Oh, I do. I love the idea of passing things out, because
Yeah.
that'll get parents to bring their kids.
Free things. They'll
Yeah.
come.
And it
Yep.
just encourages people to get out, and at least we have some type of gathering this year.
But let's all think about gift ideas, for a prize.
Right, for the
these-
tree, for the house lighting.
Yeah, I think it's big. And then you'll have to decide who's going to judge.
Well, I think her new park committee, this could be their first project.
Here you go.
Oh, true.
Make them so it's impartial, it keeps us out of the hot seat.
Sounds good.
All right. Trick or treat. I think I had a couple emails about this, so I think now's a good time that we talk about what trick or treat's gonna look like this year.
Yes. One thing I don't know. Trick or treat's going to be a tricky one. I know personally I've thought about it at my own home, and what I would probably do is just leave a bowl of candy out and not greet
What?
people at the door.
Candy out.
Okay.
They're gonna do it.
Yeah, people are
I
going
think individual neighborhoods are gonna do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just usually set a date.
Yeah, so to me, well, because people ask, are you gonna set a date or not? So I think, to me, I'm a huge Halloween fan, I'm a huge fall fan, so I couldn't imagine taking that from the kids amongst everything else. Parents can make that decision as they choose, just like with everything else. But I think we as a township need to set that trick or treat date. And maybe we put some fun, trick or treat facts out there about social distancing, those sorts of things, just being smart as families as we get closer to it. But I think we need to either set or reiterate that date for trick or treat now. So everyone.
Halloween is on Saturday.
Well, then we just do it on Halloween.
I know last year I had some concerns from some people in Suffield that I think last year we did on Saturday, and previously we had always done it on Sundays, and there's an event that conflicts with that. I think they align their event with our trick or treat, and it messed them up by us doing it on Saturday. So I would like to suggest doing it on Sunday this year.
Are they really going to be having an event though with COVID?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I like the idea of being out there on Halloween.
I do too.
Well, nobody wants to have Halloween on November 1st. Halloween's over. So we'd have to do it the weekend before, or we'd have to do it Saturday, the 31st.
I mean, to me, I like having, the family over and we trick or treat, and it's just a late night. Sunday nights is rough to be late when you got to get the kids back up for school on Monday morning.
Right.
I mean, that's just,
So
I
that's
mean, I
your
know it's a
motion?
change, but my motion would be to set it for October 31st. Hours,
we wanted to hit a little bit of light, a little bit of dark.
We did 4 to 6. That gets half and half.
We did 4 to 6. Does it get that dark that early
I
already?
don't know.
I would
Yeah,
think 5 to 7.
We had a 2 to 4 before, and it was all daylight. But 4 to 6, from like 4 to 5 is light, and 5 to 6 is dark.
It looks like sunset is at 6:22 on the 31st of October. Yep.
So let's do 5 to 7.
Yep.
So my motion is for the 31st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion?
No, I'm ready for a party.
Yeah, no, I'm excited
Yes.
for it.
What's the date? It's October
Just-
31st.
October 31st, yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have to do some things. I mean, I know it's COVID, we need to be responsible, don't get me wrong. But we gotta start creating some pieces for,
But this is on individual families and parents to
Right.
make that decision. We're
Right.
not taking that away.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
gonna do it, so.
right.
And
Yep.
it's up to, I think this is something that can be done socially distant, whether you just leave the bowl of candy out and don't actually greet the kids. Like I have a glass door in the front of my house. I can greet them from inside and keep the door closed. Or you can go out and wear a mask and hand out candy. You know, you can do it safely.
And if I was a little kid and there's a bowl of candy,
Take the whole bowl.
We're all gonna have
I'll buy
masks.
extra.
I bet you we're going to match up to with all the rest of the allotments in town. They're probably all going to do it that same day, 5 to 7.
Yeah, I think it'll be perfect, so that we all kind of come together. But I want to get it out now, because I know those allotments are discussing it, so if we can advertise that date now, we can help maybe align the whole community together that way.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor, we need to accept that as officially setting that trick or treat for Broomfield Township.
Okay, Saturday, October 31st, 5 to 7 p.m. All those in favor, Mike,
yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Nick.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Your last piece is rental facilities.
Yes. So I wanted to bring up for discussion the possibility of closing the community center and the pavilions to rentals for the remainder of 2020. It is already mid-August, and if I'm being honest, I'm not optimistic about the rules on gatherings changing. There's still the rule in place from the state of Ohio prohibiting gatherings of 10 or more, which is obviously pretty prohibitive with our community center and pavilions. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board for discussion.
Well, we could always change it. I mean, if things miraculously improve. But yeah, I mean, it's tough for you having to take reservations and then call the couples and tell them they can't use it, as you've seen. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think we just make a motion to close it, and then if things change or we get new updates from the governor, then we react to it. I mean, one motion as good as the next.
Right.
So do you want to make that motion, Mike?
I will make that motion.
second.
All right, any discussion on that?
Just dates through December 31st.
Through December 31st, then we'll reevaluate that in November. All right, all in favor? Roll call?
Yeah, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, and that is all I had for you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The deeds to sign.
They are, oh, they're in the box over here. They should be in the top part of that box. We have cemetery, we have 2 deeds to sign. We reviewed those and signed those.
For my cemetery report, Dave gave it earlier.
Okay. Yeah, no, it sounds like the project's going along well. I need to
Good,
drive
good.
over and take a look at it. I'm excited. Then the last piece we have is fiscal office, key bank contracts. John, you're up.
What we have there in front of you is the Key Bank loan for the, got her name, next door to the fire department.
Wonder right.
White Wright's property. We're purchasing that land for $100,000 is what we agreed on, and we're going to do it for a 6-year period of time. And Key has agreed to finance that for us. And that's the contract that's there. Our interest rate was a 4.25%. And so this is the contract, so I just need you guys to approve it. The amortization schedule is on the back, and this is just going to be paid out of the general fund. is where it's going to be paid. We may still need to go to Dennis Shawali if we have to set up a bond for this, but we might just be able to pay it right out of the general fund because of the amount. So
we might be able to pay this off early out of the.
yeah, and we could, any of these we could pay off early and save interest on it and do all that kind of stuff. But this is just the loan from Key, so I just need you guys to approve going forward with this, and then I will sign off on everything, and then we're good.
I'm gonna make that motion.
I'll second that motion for the purchase of that property.
Now, John, the other thing, and I know Nick and Sheila, I think we've all talked about, looking into the possibility of selling that house.
Yes.
You know, because it's a historical house. It was the first church in Brimfield. You know, it's the possibility of someone moving it rather than us having to.
So I looked into that for you, and here's where we stand with that. We got to get the official purchase of the house done.
Okay.
Once we have that in our possession, then the realtor said we need to bring in a moving company, 2 moving companies to evaluate the structure.
Okay.
To make sure it can be moved, and to give us a price to move it. Once we have that, the realtor said that they will put it on the market for us. We can set it for like a 2 or 3 month period, see if we can get it sold. If not, then we can demo it, but at least put it out there. But they don't want to put it on the market without knowing what the move cost is.
What did they think? Did they think that's feasible?
They said they've never been in this situation before. They said anything's sellable, right? We can always try to sell something.
Right.
You just have to find the right person. But what's going to be the big determination is what is the cost to move it, and then what does their home inspector think of updates that are going to happen in that.
Okay, now,
See if we can get in a price point where it's even
right.
profitable.
And as a township, we're not going to pay the cost to move it. The person that would buy it would buy it.
Correct. They just need to be able to, so when the realtor markets that to somebody, they can say, hey, listen, we're selling this house for, I don't know, let's say $40,000, right? But it's going to cost you another $10,000 to move it. So that they can say, hey, you're still getting a nice house for $50,000 or whatever those numbers may be.
I mean, the perfect scenario to me would be if the Brimfield Historical Society still had a lot of money, where you move the first church over there.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
think how it would be for generations to come to look at that,
Right.
so maybe there's somebody rich out there that would love to move it.
Right.
Like-
Well, we won't know until we get a
Right.
moving company in there. Because it may not even be stable enough to move. That's
Right,
the other
right.
concern. And at that point, then it just becomes a demo.
Because I did talk to an ex-trustee, Chick Sprague, and he was talking about the road that used to go around.
Right.
And I mean, that to me is such a neat thing,
I think that's big for us is that, and that may be, by the way, as we're talking about TIF funding, Mike Ladd, that might fall into the TIF, the cost of putting that roadway in around the town hall, tying that in, because that would be a benefit to the whole community.
So we'd actually, for our town square, we'd have a town square.
Right. Yep.
So it's interesting. It's
Yes.
exciting.
So John, with this motion, how close are we to closing this deal once we sign this contract?
I'm signing it. They're going to agree. We're getting it off to them today. I guess we'll just have to wait to hear back from Key Government Finance when they want to have a closing on it.
So we'll
But
probably
we-
close in the next 1 to 2
It's
months.
done, and our financing will be complete at that point. Then we were going to use Sabrina's office over there to do the closing on it.
So
So
probably within the next 2 months, we could have possession of the.
I would think this is going to be done here by the end of the week, the financing. So it's just getting together with someone to close it out.
And
It's
just
scheduling.
so people, who are watching this video understand, their property, actually, half of their garage is on township property, as is half of their driveway. So if we would have let them sell the property, we would have had to take that back. So they would have had no access to their garage. They'd have no access to their driveway,
Right?
Yeah.
unless they get one of those little small cars. But I mean, it's the right thing to do. I mean, we're taking some green space here, maybe, and we're getting more green space over here.
Right.
So it all works
We're
out.
balancing it all out in the end. John, do you need me to sign this, or do you need to sign this?
No, I just need to sign it. I just need a motion passing it.
All right, so let's roll call vote on the financing for the purchase of that property.
Yeah, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed. Thank you. I will get this started today.
All right. Do we have anything else for the good of the order?
And one thing, it's just, yesterday was Janie Lane's birthday. And I saw it all over the internet. And I mean, I know he's passed, but, I saw it with the statue and stuff. It's just worth mentioning, because as I got through this thing, I realized what a good musician and stuff he was. So just, I'm throwing it out there. Yesterday was Janie Lane's birthday. And he grew up in Beechcrest.
Right.
So
A lot of musicians came out of this area.
they did.
It's amazing. You had something to say?
We have a box Kirsten brought over. I don't know if there's any checks there that need to be signed.
No, actually, I put that there for her. It's all the checks that we signed.
Sue, we're waiting, just so you know, Sue, we had to call them at Portage Marble to get an updated invoice. The one that we had processed before, but the writing on the monument and the moving of it wasn't on it. So, but they didn't open till 9 o'clock. So Kirsten is calling them, and then we'll get a check cut and we'll get it to you, and you could sign it, and then you want to drop it off to Nick or Mike and get a second signature, and then we'll be on our way and you could drop it off.
Okay,
That work?
that'll work.
Okay.
All right.
But we couldn't get it to the meeting because they didn't open till 9.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, I need a motion to close the meeting.
And we'll make that motion.
I will second that. All in favor, roll call.
Okay, we're closing at 9:36. All those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Have a good day, everybody.